From the clash of ancient shields to the roar of modern artillery, humanity's story is etched in conflict. Every battle, every skirmish, every strategic masterstroke has carved its mark upon the world we know today. We will journey across continents and centuries, from the deserts of Kadesh, where chariots once thundered, to the muddy fields of Europe, where empires were won and lost. We'll explore the pivotal moments that shaped nations, the brilliant tactics that turned the tide, and the incredible sacrifices made on the front lines. This isn't just about dates and names, it's about the pulse of combat, the weight of command, and the human stories behind the greatest struggles in history. Welcome to Battles Through History. Subscribe now and prepare to witness the past come alive like never before. Sound of wind, distant echoes of battle. For centuries, one name struck terror into the hearts of kings and commoners across the ancient world: Assyria. They were the undisputed superpower, the iron fist that ruled the Near East. But in 612 BCE, the impossible happened. The mighty Assyrian Empire crumbled, its capital, Nineveh, reduced to rubble. This wasn't just the fall of a kingdom, it was the collapse of the world order. A massive power vacuum opened up, and nature, as they say, abhors a vacuum. The question on everyone's mind wasn't if a new superpower would rise, but who would be strong enough to claim the throne. Out of the ashes, two titans lurched forward, ready for a collision course that would define the next century. From the south, the ancient and venerable kingdom of Egypt, led by the ambitious Pharaoh Necho II, saw a golden opportunity to reclaim its lost glory and extend its influence back into Asia. From the east, a resurgent and ravenous Neo-Babylonian empire, fresh from its victory over Assyria, was hungry for total domination. The stage was set for a clash of civilizations, and the battleground would be the strategic lands of the Levant, right on the banks of the mighty Euphrates River. Pharaoh Necho II was no fool. He saw the Babylonian storm clouds gathering on the horizon and decided to act preemptively. As early as 609 BCE, he marched his armies north. His campaign was ruthless. He swept through the kingdom of Judah, famously killing its king, Josiah, at the Battle of Megiddo. Necho's goal was to create a buffer zone. He even propped up the last pathetic remnants of the Assyrian army at a city called Haran, hoping they could act as a speed bump against the Babylonian advance. But it was a temporary fix, a flimsy dam against a rising flood. By 605 BCE, the time for maneuvering was over. The final winner-take-all confrontation was at hand. The combined Egyptian and allied forces dug in at a place that would go down in history, the fortress city of Carchemish. This was a formidable stronghold on the west bank of the Euphrates, a gateway to the entire region. They were well supplied, well rested, and confident. But they were about to face a military genius. Leading the Babylonian army was a man whose name would soon become legendary: the crown prince Nebuchadnezzar. He was young, brilliant, and utterly relentless. He had honed his skills in the wars against Assyria, and now he was leading a battle-hardened army of heavily armored Chaldean infantry, elite archers, and devastating chariots. As Nebuchadnezzar marched his forces north to meet the Egyptians, the fate of the ancient world hung in the balance. This wasn't just a battle. It was a destiny-defining showdown. Imagine the scene. Carchemish, a stone fortress baking under the Mesopotamian sun, its walls bristling with Egyptian and Assyrian spearmen. On the opposite bank of the wide, muddy Euphrates, a sea of Babylonian tents springs up. From the walls, the defenders watch as thousands of Babylonian soldiers, their bronze armor glinting, methodically prepare for war. This wasn't a reckless charge. It was a cold, calculated siege in the making, Nebuchadnezzar began the battle with a classic opening move. He ordered his archers and slingers to the riverbank. A storm of arrows and stones rained down on the fortress walls, a constant, harassing fire designed to test the defenses, probe for weaknesses, and keep the garrison pinned down. For days, this deadly exchange likely continued. The Egyptians, secure behind their thick walls, probably felt they had the upper hand. They controlled the fortified crossing, and Nebuchadnezzar's army was on the wrong side of the river. How could he possibly mount a successful assault? They were about to find out that they had dangerously underestimated their opponent. Nebuchadnezzar knew that a frontal assault across the river against a fortified position would be a meat grinder. It would cost him thousands of his best men. So he devised a plan that was as cunning as it was audacious. According to the Babylonian Chronicle, a series of clay tablets that recorded these historic events, he executed a brilliant flanking maneuver. While the main Babylonian force kept up the pressure on Carchemish, making a great show of preparing for a direct attack, a separate contingent secretly moved up or down the river. They found a less defended point, a place where they could cross the Euphrates undetected. This was an incredibly risky move, splitting his forces in the face of the enemy, but it paid off spectacularly. Once across, this Babylonian flanking force didn't just attack the city from another angle. They did something far more devastating. They swung wide and crashed directly into the Egyptian camp, which was situated outside the main fortress. The attack was a complete and utter surprise. The coalition forces, caught off guard, were thrown into chaos. Their entire command structure fractured in an instant. At that precise moment, Nebuchadnezzar unleashed his main force. The heavy Chaldean infantry, the shock troops of the Babylonian army, surged across the river and smashed into the now disorganized and panicked Egyptian flank. The disciplined Babylonian phalanx was like a hammer blow against a pane of glass. The Egyptian line didn't just bend, it shattered. What had been an orderly battle line devolved into a mad scramble for survival. Soldiers dropped their shields, abandoned their comrades, and fled. The Battle of Carchemish had become a rout. The Babylonian chariots, held in reserve for this very moment, were unleashed. They thundered across the plains, mercilessly running down the fleeing soldiers. For the Egyptian army, it was a catastrophe of unimaginable proportions. The fight was over, but the slaughter had just begun. A victory isn't complete until you've annihilated your enemy's ability to fight back. And Nebuchadnezzar was a master of the follow-through. He did not stop at Carchemish to celebrate. He personally led the pursuit, hounding the shattered remnants of Pharaoh Necho's army. This wasn't a short chase. It was a relentless, grueling pursuit that stretched for over 300 miles, all the way south into Syria. The terrified Egyptian survivors, exhausted and demoralized, were finally cornered near a place called Hamath. There, the Babylonians fell upon them and finished the job. The Babylonian Chronicle states grimly that not a single man escaped to his own country. The entire Egyptian expeditionary force was wiped out, its power in Asia utterly and permanently broken. The political fallout was immediate and seismic. The news of Egypt's humiliating defeat spread like wildfire. The small kingdoms of the Levant, Judah, Moab, Ammon, the Phoenician city-states, all understood what this meant. Their Egyptian protector was gone. A new, far more formidable Assyrian master had arrived. One by one, they bent the knee. Envoys rushed to Nebuchadnezzar, who had since learned of his father's death and was now king, offering tribute and swearing loyalty. With one decisive victory, the entire region, from the Euphrates to the borders of Egypt, was now firmly in Babylonian hands. The Battle of Carchemish was one of those rare, pivotal moments that redirects the river of history. It wasn't just another ancient battle. It was the event that officially ended Egypt's long-held imperial ambitions in Asia and cemented the Neo-Babylonian Empire as the sole, undisputed superpower of its kind. Nebuchadnezzar's tactical genius on that day didn't just win him a battle, it won him a crown and an empire. The Chaldean Age had begun. This victory set the stage for all the major events of the next 70 years, including most famously Nebuchadnezzar's subsequent campaigns into Judah, the destruction of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, and the beginning of the Babylonian exile for the Jewish people. The echoes of Carchemish would reverberate for generations, shaping the political, cultural, and religious landscape of the world for centuries to come. It was a day of bloody conquest that redrew the map of the ancient world. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this deep dive into ancient military history, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more stories about the epic clashes that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments which battle you'd like to see covered next. Until then, stay curious. Thank you for journeying with us through the echoes of history's most pivotal battlefields. We hope this exploration into the past has been as insightful for you as it was for us to create. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please show your support by hitting that like button. It truly helps us out. Share this video with any fellow history buffs you know. And if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, Battles Through History, for more epic tales. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when we march into our next chapter. We love hearing from you, so drop your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, keep the spirit of exploration alive.